Hey folks, so this is going to be a long one for a couple of reasons. First, a lot of you commented that you really enjoyed just listening to me ramble about stuff in a few of my other, longer ramble videos. And secondly, I've got a lot to say. I want to talk a bit about my offline background, how 2022 went for the channel, a bunch of WarThunder topics, a bunch of random gaming topics, my hopes for the channel in 2023, and I want to spend some time answering questions that you folks ask all the time or have left in some recent posts. And I apologize if my voice gets a little weird at a few points. I've been talking a lot today. So first up, who the hell is Tim anyway? Well, as my blurb says here on YouTube, I am a 40-something gamer, which makes me a frickin' dinosaur in the gaming community, with a pretty diverse background. I actually grew up with some really serious childhood poverty, including a few periods of being homeless, so that wasn't great. But eventually stuff got better. When I was a teenager, I joined the Civil Air Patrol Cadet Corps. I shot up through the ranks very quickly, and when I turned 21, they booted me out of the cadets and made me a lieutenant. So I stuck with it, and I currently hold the rank of major, although I haven't been active for the last decade, and I'll get to that in a moment. If you don't know what Civil Air Patrol is, the super quick 5-second explanation is that it's the non-combat auxiliary of the U.S. Air Force. And you should totally just go read the Wikipedia page. It's volunteer, and it doesn't count as, regular military service or anything. Anyway, in my Civil Air Patrol career, I've commanded a squadron, I've done search and rescue, I've got radiological monitoring certifications from FEMA, I've earned my senior rating as a historian, the Scott Crossfield Aerospace Education Award, and a laundry list of other credentials, decorations, and all that stuff. So, if it seems like I present information in a good format in some of my tutorial videos and stuff, or if it seems like I dig up some really interesting historical trivia, it's because I've literally been trained to do it. I also used to fly Cessnas, small general aviation aircraft, and I have some time logged in a Mudry Cap 10 stunt plane, so that was cool. Outside of all that, my professional career is in information technology. I'm a bit of an IT generalist, and I've had jobs as a server admin, a network admin, help desk, a whole bunch of stuff. My current position is as the IT manager for a mid-sized tech company. IT work is challenging, and the IT industry is changing very significantly, very quickly, and the type of job that I do is not stable. If I'm being honest, knowing that this channel has some growth potential gives me a lot of peace of mind, because the type of job that I fill as, an IT manager or even just an IT worker at any level inside a company is a dying career field. So if you're looking to get into IT, be aware of that. The majority of companies over the last decade have been shifting to what are called managed service providers, where they outsource their IT department and they pay some other company to manage all their computers and servers and run their email and all that. So I don't know how much longer my professional career will even exist, because working for an MSP is crap. It's the McDonald's of IT work, and it's not something that I really want to do unless I have no other choice. The last thing I'll mention is, for this long-winded mini biography, is that I just finished up serving my 5th term as a mid-level elected official here in the United States. I've been a member of the state legislature where I live for the last 10 years, and I've won 5 elections in a row. I didn't run for re-election this cycle. Call it a retirement, maybe a vacation, whatever, but I didn't want to become one of those career politicians or get accustomed to, some of the corruption and stuff. I still get pissed off at the outrageous shit, and I want to keep that perspective. Importantly, I absolutely do not mix politics and gaming. And while my political career may inform some of my gaming content now and then, I work really hard to only talk about politics in like a funny context with jokes or very neutral advice that doesn't take a position. I would hate for somebody who likes my gaming stuff to decide they don't like me anymore because of my politics. And I would hate for people who like my politics to ruin the comment section on my gaming stuff. So please respect that boundary, and that this is the most detail I'm really willing to go into for now. Maybe if I hit 100,000 subs or something like that, I'll do a link to the Wikipedia page about me as a bonus or whatever, but past that, anytime I talk about anything political in any of my gaming content, please know that it's a joke, a satire, or is generally not to be taken seriously. And that's also why I haven't been active with the Civil Air Patrol for the last 10 years. My credentials and qualifications there kind of pigeonhole me to command and staff positions, and I didn't, and I still don't, really think it's appropriate to be in, a command position in, a uniformed service organization like that, and also be active in politics. It creates a lot of ethical situations that are just best avoided. So I decided to, go to like an inactive status for the last 10 years while I was doing all the political stuff. As a closing thought about who I am, and this is part of the reason you haven't really seen me on camera, I have rosacea. It is a skin condition that makes my face look bright red on digital cameras, like a fire truck or something. On Zoom for business meetings, people ask me all the time if I'm sick. So if I ever do, some big face reveal, or I put my head in the corner during live streams or whatever, please know in advance that I'm not great to look at, simply because digital cameras are very red sensitive. It's nowhere near as bad out in real life, but people can still tell. In terms of my background with gaming specifically, that could be a whole other, like, hour-long ramble video. And if this one does well, maybe I'll post that in another month or two. Anyway, so how did 2022 go for the channel? Well, in some ways, it's been absolutely amazing. And in some ways, it's been frustratingly bad. Now, first, I'm a huge fan of transparency, so I want to share some, like, insider behind-the-scenes channel stats and data with you guys. The good stuff and the bad stuff, and this is data that, like, most YouTube channels don't ever share with the audience. But, I'm going to open the books a bit for you guys. Let's talk about subscribers. On January 1st, 2022, the channel had 8,742 subscribers. I still think that is insane. I never expected the channel to even get 1,000. Currently, I'm set to hit 27,000 sometime this month. That is an annual growth rate for 2022 of almost 300%, which is insane. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to hit 100K next year. The month-over-month growth, it kind of shot up towards the end of 2022, and it's maintained a steady rate of gaining between 1,300 and 1,600 or so new subscribers per month. It's been relatively stable at around that level, so I don't know, I'll probably hit 20K around like 2026 or something, unless things really pick up or really drop off. But who knows? I want to show you a few other things. First, some good stuff. Check out my likes ratio. There isn't any report that YouTube shows me that displays the channel average automatically, but I ran the numbers by hand. And my videos have an average like to dislike ratio of 98.7%. That's very high. And my ratio of likes to views hovers in between about 5 to 10%. which is above the average across all of YouTube, but it's not crazy high or anything like that. Good, but not like mind-blowing. So the takeaway from that, it keeps my morale going, and it's something that I know one or two other people who primarily do like WarThunder content on YouTube have alluded to. YouTube can sometimes not be great for your mental health, meaning like being a YouTuber and producing content. It is very easy to get discouraged when you put out some stuff that you know academically or objectively is good, but it doesn't get any reach and no one seems to care. The like ratio on my stuff, it helps me avoid a lot of that. So thank you guys. I love you. In terms of views, so this is some interesting stuff. The YouTube average across like all videos, all genres, all types of content, not including shorts, is about 14% of subscribers are going to watch any individual video on a channel. That means that on average, one of my videos should be getting around 3,800 views right now. In reality, though, it varies wildly from video to video, from game to game, so on and so on. My WarThunder stuff almost always outperforms that average. But the vast majority of my variety gaming stuff seriously underperforms, which isn't a big surprise to me since the majority of you are here for WarThunder, and that's totally fine. But it does mean that the algorithm considers those vids to be underperforming, and it recommends them to people less often, and even if the other stats on them are good, they just don't get as much reach. So, it's the curse of running a channel like mine that's not laser focused on one specific topic. It's like somebody running a channel all about garage shop projects, in general, metalworking, woodworking, tuning up their car, whatever, compared to somebody who laser focuses on like woodworking projects and making birdhouses. The niche audience is more baked in and more reliable for the birdhouse channel as opposed to the everything in the garage channel. It's the same in the gaming space. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I expect it. That's fine. But if you've been subbed to the channel for a while and you haven't ever seen my variety gaming videos show up in your feed, that's why. It's that YouTube thinks that those videos are not good, even if the stats on them after people click are solid. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But as a result of that, it's just not showing them as often. So, shameless plug to go take a look at the playlists on my channel. I've got, excuse me, a really wide selection of content out there on a whole bunch of different types of games, and you never know what might grab your interest. Hint, hint. Anyway, something else my channel isn't doing great at is average view duration percentage, and honestly, this one confuses the hell out of me for a couple of reasons. This is what a pretty typical view duration looks like on one of my variety gaming videos. It drops off in the first minute, and that is normal across all of YouTube. And then it flattens out, and it goes down very slowly and steadily over time. That's typical-ish, slightly above average, towards the end. This specific video is a KSP episode. Now, based on what I've found online, having around 20% of people who click a video longer than 1 minute watch the whole thing is roughly average. So I'm not unhappy with that, even though I will admit it was a little bit of a letdown when I started pouring into these numbers a little bit more in detail. It's one of those preconceived notions that I'd never given any thought about. because I based some of my assumptions about YouTube on my own YouTube viewing habits. When I click and watch a video, I almost always watch it all the way through to the end, even if it's long. Like if I see a video is an hour-long speed run of, I don't know, some game or whatever, or it's an hour-long documentary about some topic, I don't click to watch the hour-long video if I don't have an hour to spare. But it seems that 80% of people who watch YouTube don't finish longer content that's longer than like a minute or two. I guess that's normal, but it struck me as unusual when I found that. Anyway, here's one of my WarThunder aircraft reviews. Check this out. It's entirely different. It drops off much slower through the mid-course of the video, but it has a huge dump at the end. That confuses the hell out of me, because it means a lot of people aren't watching the conclusion, pros and cons, and the final verdict at the end of the video. That seems like it's kind of the most important part. So that's really strange to me that so high of a percentage of people who check out my WarThunder aircraft reviews don't watch the whole thing to the end, and like they're missing the best part, and I'm not sure why. I don't know. Anyway, this particular graph is my review of the Q5L. But here's another. And you see that little bump at the start? That means a whole bunch of you are clicking to skip past the intro. Some of you are also skipping ahead to the midpoint to skip over the historical context segment. And I see a lot of you are closing out the vid, again, right before the conclusions and the final verdict. I'm not really sure why, but I pay attention, and I've noticed this trend. So you may have noticed in my recent WarThunder aircraft reviews, I've started adding not just the chapters in the scroll bar on the bottom, but also on screen at the start of the video, so that people can see what's coming. These analytics give me the impression that a good chunk of viewers watch the first 30 seconds and think that the entire video is a history lesson, so they close it out before getting to the other parts. And also, a good chunk of you, like 70% or more, might not even know that I have a conclusions and final verdict at the end. I'll be watching over time to see if adding the on-screen chapters and the shorter intro end up making any difference in these stats. I find all this stuff academically interesting because I'm a numbers nerd. I still have a few videos produced, by the way, in my older format, but not yet published. So if you see a few go up, that don't have like the timestamps at the front or anything, don't get confused. I'm just publishing out of my back catalog of vids that, I've produced in advance. At any given point with my WarThunder Wednesday vids, I try to keep about 4 of them pre-produced and ready to go, just so I can maintain my release schedule if I get really busy for a couple of weeks or something. Moral of the story, though, if you like those WarThunder aircraft reviews, you really ought to watch the whole thing. Now I want to talk about style for a couple of minutes. I've tried really hard to keep my YouTube content authentic and organic. I almost never do clickbaity thumbnails with the big red arrows, reaction faces, and all that crap. And the couple of times I did, it was an obvious satire. At least, I hope it was obvious. And I don't use video titles that are deliberately crafted to cause tension or conflict. For example, if I publish a WarThunder review on the F-104, I call it F-104 and WarThunder, a basic review. Because that's what it is. I don't call it F-104 Monster Dogfighter in an attempt to make you think, wait, what? Is this guy whack, or did he find some secret trick? And, clickbait you into checking out the video. I don't do that. I consider that borderline dishonest. I try to keep my content more authentic, and I don't try to manipulate you into clicking on it. I'm sure this hurts my channel stats a bit, but as I said, I consider that kind of unethical. So I hope that if nothing else, you appreciate my attempts to stay honest, keep things real, and not just like clickbait you into the channel. I really hope you never come away from my videos feeling cheated. Now, with that said, I know I can still do better with some of my titles and thumbnails and stuff. You may or may not have noticed, but in my current KSP series, I've been doing thumbnails with a screen grab from the episode, not just the generic title card. I've tried to use some more clever titles for my Skyrim episodes compared to, like, previous series, and time will tell if it makes any difference, The channel is still a hobby, and I'd absolutely love for it to take off so I could do this as more of a full-time thing and, like, get you guys daily uploads with 5 series going on at the same time, more than one WarThunder video per week and all that. But, as it stands, I'm making a little bit of money off the channel, and thank you for that, by the way, especially those of you who've sent in, like, a super thanks. But keeping it real, it's about, like, 1/5 of what I'd need in order to actually, like, quit my day job and do this full-time, so probably not anytime soon. Also, I do watch some of the meta info YouTube gives me about stuff that my viewers are watching, and it informs some of the variety content I post. But don't worry, I'm not going to start whispering in my vids anytime soon. The last thing I want to mention are, like, marketing and channel sponsorships. Now, this is a kind of a weird topic, and I hope you don't hate me for this, but I may take out a sponsored ad on a couple of larger gaming channels to try and expand my audience a bit. Based on my stats and comments from, you guys and also from other YouTubers, I think it's clear that most of my content is at least, decent quality. But I'm not getting as many first-time, unique, new viewers as I would like. However, I get an above-average percentage of repeat returning viewers. Based on stats I've seen from other channels and across YouTube, people who watch one of my videos have a much higher percentage of returning to watch another one later, compared to, averages across, like, gaming channels on YouTube. However, not as many new viewers are showing up to my stuff as a first-time viewer as they are to a lot of other channels. So, I don't know. It's interesting stuff to think about, and I may cave in and run an ad or two, on some larger channels to try and bring in some new people. I really haven't decided yet, but I gotta find some way to get the word out. Also, I haven't done any sponsored content myself. That isn't because of a lack of offers. It's because I'm picky. I've gotten about a dozen unsolicited offers to do sponsored vids of various types. And some of them were even for some good money. Everything from paid game reviews to running a 30-second pitch for a fake Scottish lordship scam at the beginning of my episodic Skyrim series. All kinds of different stuff. And I hope you guys appreciate that I'm not a sellout. And I promise you this, just like I did at the end of last year, if I ever accept an offer like that, or I take on a sponsor, it won't ever be anything that I don't feel comfortable showing or saying. I won't plug a game that I think sucks. I won't pitch shaving gear that I don't use myself. And I will absolutely never sell out to Raid Shadow Legends. Even if you hate me for maybe running an ad somewhere, I hope that you'll at least respect me for not being a completely phony shill. So let's talk about 2023. The first thing to say is that at some point in the next couple of months, probably during Q1, I'm going to open up channel memberships, and I might set up a Patreon or something. I do get asked more than occasionally if I have a Patreon or if somebody can like PayPal me a donation to the channel or gift me a premium vehicle in War Thunder or help out in various like financial or almost financial sort of ways. Here's the thing, and please drop some comments if you have any thoughts about this. I'm not sure what I can offer for a channel membership to make it worthwhile. I mean, like, the chat emojis and all that, that's all fun and stuff, but I'm not really sure what sort of, like, members-only insider content I could offer. I don't know what you guys would want or expect. Feel free to let me know. Maybe, I don't know, get early access to stuff a week in advance or something like that. Maybe like a members-only episodic variety series. I really don't know. So seriously, drop a comment and let me know what you think, if that's something that you'd be interested in at all. There's a lot of advice out there for YouTubers by other YouTubers about what to do with channel memberships. Well, I care more about what you think, not about what some other YouTuber thinks. And that's also like why I do so many polls and stuff on my channel. If it wasn't obvious, I genuinely care about my viewers. I'm like legit interested in what you guys think, and I want to give you more of what you want as much as I can. Anyway, you'll probably see some refinements in my routine content as well. For example, I mentioned, adding the timestamps and chapters to my weekly War Thunder reviews, that sort of thing. I may end up adopting like a new video thumbnail format, but I haven't really settled on anything final. I've got a few things I'd really like to start doing in 2023. First, I'd like to hit 50,000 subscribers. I realize it's like an arbitrary number. There's not anything specific about 50,000. There's not any bonus you get or any YouTube features you unlock. But to me, it would be a huge milestone. It gives me something to work towards as a goal, and it's halfway to that coveted silver play button. So I'd really love to see if I can find some way to hit 50K, because I love you guys. Second, I would really like to build the audience for my non-War Thunder content. My War Thunder content is the best performing stuff on my channel, like by an order of magnitude, and that's fine. But I would really love to be able to like post more Skyrim content and have it do better. More game reviews more often, and that sort of stuff. It takes time, though, like a lot. And it does seem like, keeping a weekly release schedule has helped a bit with some of my variety content. You guys, for example, if you've been watching the channel, you know that on Fridays I'm dropping, like, the Skyrim episodes. Right now, on Mondays, is my KSP series, and so on. And, for example, my KSSR Kerbal series for KSP has done far better than my first Kerbal series, at least so far on average. So, I don't know, maybe my next set of Skyrim vids will outperform my Paladin roleplay series that's going right now. Time will tell. But if you have any suggestions for specific games that you think would be fun to review or do a series with, drop a comment and let me know. I've got a pretty long backlist of stuff I want to produce, but I'm always welcome to new suggestions. And there have been a few times where stuff you guys have posted has like cut the line and gotten to the front of the list. For example, I got an email suggesting I do like a Skyrim challenge of the week where I try and pull off some insane stunt or challenge or handicap and just run with it till I die or whatever. So I don't know, I might start doing something like that. It sounded fun. Anyway, if you've got any ideas, drop it in the comments, and I promise I'll at least have a look, even if I won't have the time to reply to everyone individually. And speaking of variety content, I've got some specific plans, but no specific timetable yet. I really want to finish my series of the best and the worst retro console game rundowns. I've got vids in that series planned out for about a dozen more game consoles, but I just need to find the time. You know, I've got the footage recorded for half a dozen more critical reviews of just like random games. I just got to find the time for all the post-production and stuff. I'm also going to be doing a bit of a poll soon for my next episodic series. I've got the list narrowed down to like 4 or 5 options, so I figured why not just let you guys decide. So keep an eye out on my channel, the posts and stuff over the next month. Okay, so let's talk about some WarThunder stuff. There is a good chance that a lot of you just clicked ahead to this section in the chapters on this video, but if you didn't click ahead, you know how I know that a lot of you did click ahead. But anyway, the first thing I want to say is that I am not going to stop putting out my weekly WarThunder vids anytime soon. My weekly WarThunder aircraft reviews are time-intensive to produce, but they're fun, and I'm happy with how the format has evolved since I started doing it a little over a year ago. Also, yes, I am going to finish the Low Tier Fun Tier series. I already have all the footage recorded for the last few vids. I just need to, find the time to do the editing and stuff. Generally speaking, like an 8 to 15 minute WarThunder video can sometimes take me between 4 to 6 hours of production, not including the time it takes to capture the footage and, as I was getting at in the section of this vid talking about my stats and stuff, I'm still doing the channel on a hobby basis rather than as a job, so, I'll get to some of those pending vids as soon as I can, but I just can't promise a particular time frame. I've also had my updated air-to-ground weapons tutorial simmering on the back burner. The next version of it is going into a lot more detail than the last one, and it's moved up to the middle burner. I'm waiting until after the upcoming major update to WarThunder, just in case they add in a new air-to-ground weapon mechanic that I think they might add, and I don't want to have my vid end up with a big hole in it the week after it goes public, so probably January. But I've already started the production process, and it's definitely happening. I also want to try and get in the habit of publishing the WarThunder pairings videos more often. They don't perform well, and in fact, for whatever reason, I lose a bunch of subs every time I post one. And they're a bit of a challenge, a lot more difficult to produce than my aircraft reviews. You might think it's easier because it's recorded live and it doesn't need as much post-production, but the problem is that I want the results to be realistic. I don't want to show you a match where I brought out a vehicle and had a lucky run and got 8 kills, because that's not what usually happens. And I don't want to show you a run where I go out and die immediately, because that's lame and boring. As I always say, I consider myself an average gamer, with good matches and bad matches. But in the pairings vids, I try to show average matches, where, I'm just going out, no script, having some fun with a couple of vehicles that I like to use together, get a couple kills, take a couple of hits, and just sort of have some fun. Anyone can post cherry-picked double ace matches on YouTube, but I try to keep things a bit more authentic. And, you're going to see me get my ass kicked sometimes, as well as see me with some good plays. It also gives me a chance to do content with tanks and stuff, which is important because, the name of the channel is Tim's Variety, not Tim's Jet Fighters only. So I really enjoy doing the pairings videos, and I want to try and get in the habit of putting those out more often. Another thing that comes up pretty often, when is my channel logo going to be available in WarThunder with an affiliate link and all that? Short answer, probably not anytime soon. In order to qualify for that, and I don't think I'm supposed to publicly talk about what the exact requirements are and everything, but in short, I would need at least like 4 times the average views per WarThunder video that I'm currently getting, just to get into like that bracket of the content creator program where they would even think about, inviting me up into the affiliate level. So, I can't get there just on quality alone. They do all that stuff. They handle the content creator program based entirely on quantity of views. There are TikTokers who post nothing but 30-second like meme clips who are way higher in the content creator program than I am. So, that's just how they run it. Maybe someday, but probably not very soon. I also want to mention I am totally open and, frankly, very interested in a wider variety of WarThunder content. So if you've got suggestions or ideas for other formats that I can explore with my WarThunder stuff, by all means, let me know. Obviously, WarThunder is a big part of my gaming hobby, and it's a big part of this YouTube channel, and I'd love to get you guys more of it. All right, on to some viewer comments and questions. So the first one I want to address that I've gotten some emails about, DMs on Twitter about, and a couple of video comments about. Yes, I'm aware that there is another YouTuber out there who is basically ripping off my content format for my WarThunder aircraft reviews with super shallow information, but really top shelf thumbnails. In short, I don't really care. Imitation is the best form of flattery, right? So if somebody else is trying to rip off my content, honestly, I take that as a bit of a compliment. They're getting clicks from their great thumbnails, and that's cool. But being totally honest here, I really don't pay much attention to other WarThunder YouTubers' content. I'm sure that some of mine might end up similar to somebody else's. And I'm sure that somebody else's might look similar to some of mine. Shit, even Gaijin themselves basically ripped off my radar tutorial a couple of months ago. I don't see this stuff as a competition. Like, if somebody clicks on one of my videos, it doesn't mean that they're not going to click on somebody else's, I've got no interest in YouTuber beefs and all that dramatic nonsense. So, I appreciate the heads up that some of you have sent me when you found somebody else copying my format, or even in one case directly stealing my gameplay footage. They even had my name in the kill scroll on the bottom of the screen and stuff. But I'm not gonna try and go after them or anything. I want everyone on here to succeed. Next up, I get asked all the time in comments if I think so-and-so nation is going to get added as a playable faction in WarThunder, or like as a subtree for one of the existing factions, the way that, Finland just got added to Sweden. I mentioned this a while back, but there's a funny story with that. Literally one day before Gaijin announced that Israel was coming to WarThunder, I had sent them a proposal for adding a collective smaller nations combined tech tree. That is like one tech tree to combine nations like India, Israel, Argentina, Yugoslavia, Iran, South Africa, South Korea, and so on. Nations that have or have had, a defense industry with like unique equipment, but might not have had enough of it in quantity or variety to fill out a whole tech tree by themselves. Instead of shoehorning, vehicles from Iran into one of the existing tech trees for one of the nations we have now, just for example, Iran, it could be South Korea, whoever, have one sort of like UN tech tree or something for all the vehicles that deserve to be in the game because they're interesting or fun or whatever, but they just don't fit into any of the larger nations we've got. Well, the very next day after I sent that over, Israel was announced as a tech tree. and they basically committed hard to going the full tech tree on smaller nations, even if it means, half a dozen copy-pasted versions of the A4 Skyhawk just as roster filler. So, yeah, I would love to see a lot of those smaller nations get added into War Thunder and have their stuff in the game. And I would love to see a unified tech tree for those smaller nations. But I don't think it'll happen. And I don't think there are too many nations left that are likely to get their own tree. Really, I think India and Iran are the only two that really maybe have enough of like a variety of different equipment they've operated over the years, as well as home-built stuff to ever get added as a full tech tree. I think all of the others are more likely to get added as subtrees into the existing nations if they're not already. That's not how I would like to see it done, but I think that's what they're going to do based on the way that they added Israel and what they did with Finland. So, next up, my favorite top-tier nation in War Thunder. That is a trick question. I prefer the U.S. air tree, the Soviet helicopter tree, the German light ground vehicles, and China for regular medium-heavy tanks. So, trick question. Next up, another War Thunder question that I get asked is if I play ground or mostly air. Well, the short answer is that I regularly play just about everything in War Thunder except for naval battles. I've only done boat stuff like up into rank 2. I like the lower tier speedboat gameplay. I just don't play it too often. And I'm not super interested in looking for the right way to explain it. The naval content in War Thunder's mid-tiers does not have a lot of interest for me. Once they get into some of the late World War II battleships, I will be interested in that. I don't know if I'll be interested enough to grind through the tech trees. Once they get into like Cold War era destroyers, I will be interested in that. I do not know if I'll be interested enough to grind out through the tech trees. Once we get submarines, I'll be interested in that. I don't know if I'll be interested enough to grind out through the naval tech trees. But it's worth mentioning that almost all of my content focuses on like the higher tiered aircraft stuff. But I absolutely love a lot of the lower tiered gameplay and vehicles, for ground and air. Sometimes I just get the itch to jump into a Spitfire for an hour, or roll out the Sherman Jumbo, And on that topic, by the way, for those of you who ask me to do more reviews and content of lower-tiered stuff using my normal format, well, really bluntly, less than half as many people watch those videos when I throw a review up of some mid-tier prop as they do when I put a video up with a jet fighter. So, if you want more of that content, it's just got to get more views when I post one. And there are a few coming in the pipeline, so, the opportunity's there. All right, now I got a very important question in a recent comment. Do I think I could take a bear in hand-to-hand combat? All right, so what kind of a bear? Like, we talking brown, grizzly, Kodiak? What do we got? Little bear or full-grown adult? Is it sleeping or pissed off like that Cocaine Bear movie? Do I get a weapon like a sword or a battle axe? Or are we talking like bare knuckle smackdown? If it's just muscles versus claws, I don't know. I might last a solid 20 seconds or so. But if you give me some steel, it might be closer to a fair fight. Speaking in the most general possible terms, though, no, I don't think I could take on a bear in a round of fisticuffs. One question that was asked is my favorite tech tree for bombers in War Thunder. Well, if you mean like conventional prop bombers, believe it or not, I like Japan. Not because their bombers are the most effective, I just think that they're fun to play. If you mean like high tier strike jet ground pounding, like for grinding out higher tier jets and stuff, I'm going to have to fly the Stars and Stripes on that because I absolutely love the A7, even if it's a slow plane. Next up, what other hobbies do I have outside of gaming? Too many. No, really. I absolutely never have time for all of the shit that I'm into. Like model rocketry, electronics repair. I've done mod work on some gaming consoles, martial arts, tabletop wargaming and fig painting, model aircraft, D&D style tabletop RPGs. I'm a total book nerd. I still play Magic the Gathering from time to time. And by the way, my Tolarian Academy Chrome Mox Brain Geyser deck can absolutely get the one-turn win on a lucky draw. But honestly, I never have enough time for any of that stuff these days. Being a responsible adult absolutely kills hobbies and fun. Yeah. I've also been asked about my software and hardware stack. Well, for software, I run a combination of OBS, Debut Video Capture, Adobe Rush, Adobe Premiere, Handbrake, Pixel Edit, Paint.net, and of course all the games. My primary battle station is running a Threadripper 3960X, currently with 64 gigs of RAM, an RTX 3070, NVMe drives for my operating system and my Steam library and stuff, and some cheap SSDs on the SATA bus for bulk storage and video scratch. Last question for now. What is my favorite game that I don't produce any YouTube content for? Well, it would be hard to narrow down just one in particular. But generally, I gotta say, console RPGs. Stuff like the classic Final Fantasy games, Dragon Quest, Breath of Fire, that sort of stuff. I absolutely love those types of games, but, they don't really lend well to, the kind of YouTube content I do, unless you're doing, weird glitched out speedruns or something, but that isn't really my thing. If you've got ideas, though, I would love for you to drop a comment. Anyway, I've been rambling for a while, and it's about time I shut up. So if you've watched this all the way to the end, or listened in the background all the way to the end, because a lot of you do that, and that's totally cool. I do it too. Please hit that like button and leave a comment to let me know. I love you all, and as always, thanks for watching.